Fire service.
There's been a car crash on Hagley Road.
Whereabouts on Hagley Road?
Just past Chiquito, in between the road where the golf club is.
By the junction with Wolverhampton Road?
That's right, yeah.
Okay, and what's involved?
2 cars.
Yeah.
I think one of the cars, another car.
We'd started, come on duty at 6 o'clock on the evening, gone through our safety critical checks, and we were just really sort of getting into the shift when we had the call about 10 to 8.
It was a normal working day. We were on a late shift. We'd started probably 2 in the afternoon. We were doing what we normally do, we were doing paperwork, answering emails.
We'd been on duty nearly a couple of hours, so when the bells went down we looked at the message and it said car into bus stop with a couple of casualties.
It is just a normal day, and then obviously when the phone rings to say that there's been a fatal accident and the scene's ready for us to attend.
I remember that there wasn't a lot of traffic coming in towards Birmingham on Hagley Road that night. You know, at that time, and particularly on a nice summer's day as it was, there should have been more traffic, so we knew we'd got an incident, and as we got past Lordswood Road, there was a lot of people flagging us down.
On the way there, I just remember asking the lads to put their blue gloves on because obviously we were going to be dealing with casualties. That was the information that we were getting. We didn't know that at that point whether anybody was trapped in a vehicle, but we did know that there was at least one person lying on the roadside.
It was a big scene, wasn't it?
It was a big scene. The best way to describe it looked like a plane had crashed on the road.
As we approached, there was just debris, bits of car, bits of bus stop, there was concrete, it was just a scene of devastation.
We were confronted with a lot of people screaming and shouting. There was a lot of debris on the road, which I asked to be left there because I very quickly realised that one of the things going forward was we needed to preserve as much of the evidence for the scene for a police investigation to take place. Even at that early stage I recognised that fact. And
there was a lot of debris around the car, there was a lot of people, police officers, fire brigade, ambulance there as well. So the scene was pretty packed.
We were up in the Lake District and we'd been walking out on the fells.
And it was a particularly hot day. It was the evening when we just had a Chinese, didn't we, a takeaway, and we were just watching something on the TV, and then completely unexpectedly.
A phone call came to my mobile, didn't recognise the number, answered it, and it was the West Midlands police.
We were sort of informed that they'd been at the bus stop and they'd been hit by the car, and then obviously the third casualty was the driver of the vehicle itself, and he'd, I think, I'm led to believe, had self-extricated but was lying on the grass not far away. So really it was apparent to me that the assumption was that the 2 girls at the bus stop were the priority because they'd been hit by the vehicle.
We knew that there had been a fatality, and young Rebecca was still at the scene.
I didn't see Rebecca on the day of her death. I did take her out for a meal with my younger daughter the day before, and we went to a pub in Harbour and had a nice little pub meal and a good chat and a good laugh. So it was the last time I saw Rebecca was a really good time.
Described that there'd been a serious accident and that one person was dead at the scene. So obviously straight away we knew that it was extremely serious, and we didn't know who that was at the time. We didn't realise that Harriet was with a friend Beck at the time. We thought she was travelling into the party on her own. We thought she'd come up specially to go to the hen. And then he said that Harriet was in critical condition, what we were told, and was being taken to QE, or had been taken. So, and he didn't really have any more information at that point, did he? He just said,
no,
"Can you get back?" And we said where we were, and he's obviously, you could tell how urgent it was because is there anybody near that you could, get to go to the hospital now? So we knew it was bad.
It was bad, and he was quite urgent in his manner in terms of you need to come now. He didn't name Harry, he just said who he was, and he said, "Does your daughter got red hair?" And he went from there. It was quite traumatic at the time, understanding what was going on. And very quickly we had to pack our things up and get in a car and travel back to Birmingham with our youngest daughter, she's got special needs and doesn't like any disruption to her routine, so that was quite was quite upsetting at the time, just piling us all into the car.
With a high impact with a car, you're going to assume lower limb, pelvic, possibly spinal injuries, and it was obvious when you looked at the car that not only had they been hit from the front on, they'd bounced off the bonnet and the roof of the vehicle as well. So really, you're looking at trauma all over the body really at that point.
What were your expectations of Harriet having seen?
I think if we're being really honest about it, I didn't see it that either of the girls would have come out of the survival. Obviously, we didn't know what the speed of the impact was at that point, but I could see from the way where the bus stop was and where they had landed up that there had been quite a lot of speed involved in the accident. So the expectation was, unfortunately, very low.
Looking back to where the bus stop was and to where the girls were, and they had been knocked probably, I would say, at least 30 yards. So, and remembering how the paramedics were working on them, I just thought, that they were in a serious condition, and I just thought they'd got no chance of surviving.
I've got a son who's the same age as Rebecca, who sadly passed away, and similar as Harriet. So it has an impact from that point of view, and on a personal level, straight away you're thinking your own kids back at home and hoping they're okay, and the same sort of thing, you're thinking, I hope this never happens to my children. You wouldn't wish it on your worst enemy, and I certainly felt for the families of both the girls that were involved.
It was quite a low mood, I think, because of what we'd seen. We had to go back there later on in the night, I remember, to hose down the grass, because the families were going to go up there and look at the scene where it all happened. And that wasn't a nice thing to have to do, because of the amount of blood and the injuries that the girls had got. It was a slow shift, that was, because of what had happened.
When the police arrived at my doorstep at that time of night, I knew it wasn't going to be good news. I thought it was going to be something else. But to hear those words that Rebecca's being killed, and then, once you regain some sort of composure, you realise that your life's changed forever. Nothing will ever be the same again. Even if you manage to pick up the pieces to a point or get on with things, there is no going back to the old way of life, and you have to quickly get used to a very different world.
And it was nothing that the girls had done, nothing at all. They were innocent. They were standing at the bus stop waiting for the bus to go and have a good time. And then in a split second, Rebecca had lost her life.
The plans were another old friend from secondary school was due to get married in that summer, and they were meeting in Birmingham city centre for a hen do, and that's where they were going that evening.
When she was in the acute unit at the hospital, her ward was, I don't know how many beds were in it, 20 or 30 beds. It was rammed. It was full of people who'd been run over, either walking or on a bike. A lot of cycling accidents, and people who'd been in cars. And we were there just for a very short period, 2 to 3 weeks, and it was constant. People coming in.
We have the Road Traffic Act, we have the Highway Code, we have serious penalties for people who kill others on the road or seriously injure others on the road. However, it'd be so much better if those collisions just did not happen in the first place by people driving at stupid speeds, under the influence of drink or drugs, using their phone, not wearing seat belts. But in Rebecca's case, she was a victim as a vulnerable road user, as a pedestrian, of somebody who raced with another to speeds over 100 miles an hour on public roads.
It's endemic. It seems that there's an issue across society or whatever that the message isn't getting out there. The damage you can cause when you're sat behind the wheel of a car.
And if you kill somebody at speed, it's almost like an act of violence.
You're distracted and you're distracted just for a minute. You can end a life.
as a driver, you've got to be ultra careful, because not only could you be the victim of a crash on the road, somebody crashes into you, or you run into the back of a crash that's already happened because you're not concentrating, but you could also find yourself within a split second as being an offender, somebody that we're looking at as having caused a collision, having caused somebody's death.
We got to the QE about midnight, and just piled into the reception area where that police officer met us, and took us through to a waiting area where the rest of Karen's family had gathered, and then we waited for the news on what was happening, really. Can't remember how long it took, but eventually...
It was about one... Well, the doctor came out to speak to us fairly soon after we were there, probably about 15 minutes after, and just explained all of the... went through the injuries head to toe, which took a long time, and said we weren't still able to see her because they were still trying to stabilise her and get her all sorted. So I think she'd arrived there about 8, and we couldn't see it till about 1 o'clock in the morning because it took that long, 5 hours, to get her all stabilised and all the injuries and checked out, and so we didn't see it till about 1.
No, and the meeting with the surgeon was quite interesting at the time, because he came in and he literally went from head to toe with what was wrong with Harriet, from the broken neck through to the arms and the legs, and I think we separately we sort of were analysing it as he was saying it, and I got quite quickly to the conclusion that she could get away with this. There were no vital organs
and her lungs
messed up. So there was. It just seemed to us it was there was a slight chance that she could come out of it. So
what were your physical injuries?
So I had a subarachnoid hemorrhage, brain bleed from my head, my brain shaking about inside my head, and I got thrown. I broke my collarbone, I broke my sacrum, I broke my left humerus, I broke my right wrist, I shattered my right hip, was completely shattered. Several bones in my neck, like C1 and C2, and that's the one you shouldn't hurt, is C1, so I was in a neck brace for 3 months, and I broke the whole of my left leg, so both bones there, and my sciatic nerve was severed in my, a bit higher, so I have couldn't move both my feet, they were both freezing, and I still can't move my left foot, and still have nerve pain in both feet all the time.
She was on a ventilator, wasn't she? So completely unconscious, and she got tubes to come out. You couldn't get to hold any of her, or you wanted to touch her, you know what I mean? You couldn't get to her because there's so many, she got so many lines in and 2 chest drains in, because both of her lungs were punctured and full of blood, so it was draining out. Every limb was in plaster. Well, both arms were full in plaster, weren't they? The left leg was full in plaster, and this leg, because they'd shattered her hip completely, had got pins through it, and on it.
There was a female plastic surgeon sat at her head, sewing up what we now refer to as the Harry Potter scar. Sewing her head up, and from my perspective, it was we took Katie, our youngest daughter, in at the same time, and she just she crumpled, and it was more about, for me, it was more about just reassuring her that Harriet was going to be all right.
When was it that your mum and dad told you about Rebecca?
For it was the first 2 weeks, I forgot every single thing. So I'm not really. They waited until I was remembering what had happened, and I knew that I was in hospital, and I kind of thought something was up because I hadn't spoke to her. I'd spoke to a lot of my friends, and they'd checked in on me, and I don't know. I just kind of had hope that she was off doing something for university.
Once you tell our youngest daughter Kate that Harriet's going to be all right, she just processes that, and she moves on.
She trusted in that and just sort of left it to us to, But she would come. I mean, she got involved when she began to realise it was a long-term thing, and she would come, and she would help. When Harriet first woke up from the coma, she couldn't move at all, not no part of her. She couldn't pick up a drink or do anything, so Kate would take her a drink when she'd hold it by her so she could sip and things like that. So she got involved in that side of it, didn't she? But
I was in a coma for over a month, and then my short-term memories didn't turn to long-term memories for the first 2 weeks after I was out of the coma. And then people would visit me in hospital and I would forget they'd visited me. Like, so I'd see people and be like, oh, it's the first time I've seen you since, and they were like, we came like 3 weeks ago, and I'd be like no memory of it at all. I was exhausted, I was just really tired, I was just tired and confused. Didn't understand what had happened, or I remember asking my mum what was wrong with me. I thought that I'd done something to cause it to myself at some point, because I was just not able to really communicate. I couldn't really speak properly, and so I couldn't really express my like worries of like whether I'd done it myself or like whether just what had happened.
the people that attended the scene must have done an amazing job to keep her alive, because they deserve such credit as well. I know a lot of people attended, and she had to have such a lot of immediate life-saving support, and like 12 units of blood and things like that. So those people just, she owes a life to initially, and all the doctors at the hospital were fantastic. Every surgeon that worked on her too, because we were told probably she'd never move her hand again. The fractures were so, her hand was smashed in upon itself, so she had 4 surgeries on that, and he still didn't think she'd move her hands move really well. So all the surgeries she's had have got her to the point where she is. So that was, but when she came out of hospital, definitely the physio team she's got were just fantastic in giving her the determination really, and telling her she could do it. And they were always very good at, if she was ever getting a bit low, they were very good when she'd have a physio session or hydrotherapy session. They were such a great team and very positive for her, weren't they? And she used to sort of come out boosted really. So they've been a phenomenal part of it, haven't they, I think?
Yeah, she was, I was going to say ironic, she was very lucky that she was a couple of miles from the QE, and it was a military based hospital. And that saved her life. But the biggest influence on her recovery has been Karen. No question.
I met Harriet when she'd actually been home from hospital for a little while, so she was doing really well with her recovery, but still sort of struggling with mobility and fatigue, and because of her problems around some of her joints, her range of movement was quite difficult, so even sit-to-stands and things like that were difficult for her. Functional activities like dressing, putting shoes on and stuff were still sort of troublesome. She hadn't yet managed to climb the stairs at home, sort of particularly sort of safely and things. So we did some work both at home and also within the hydro pool to start addressing some of those things, which all improved, quite quickly at the time.
What was the time in your life like following the accident whilst Harriet was in a coma, and how did this have an impact on your family? Obviously work, that kind of thing, family dynamics at home.
One day at a time. It became targets really with her in terms of her recovery, because she was straight after the accident. She was having 10-12 hour
surgeries nearly
operations every day,
and
filling that time while she's in surgery is quite difficult.
The number one thing is to learn to just accept it. I think that's one of the things, a lot of people find it really hard to come to terms with things because they're fighting against why it had to happen, or why it had to happen and what they've lost, and how hard that is. But I think it's important just to focus on what you have and that you survived, or that even if it's not like a serious one, that you've got to come to terms with how you are now, because it's fighting against it is what will ruin you, isn't it? I hope to be able to handle my current situation for the future, so I hope that I can just continue to progress and continue to get better. And
you just focus on each day, I think, and she's strong, she was fit and healthy, and we got told all the time that all the fitness and her lungs were strong and cope with all the what happened. We were told that her fitness and her youth were on her side, so.
I feel like I've lost confidence in terms of academia, because it was the day after university, so I don't remember completing my degree, and I don't have the woo, I can handle work anymore. I feel like my brain just makes me hesitant.
I'd say for me it's always there, but not necessarily. I'll be upset now, so obviously remembering back about it, but I'm not particularly to get upset. It's just I do feel obviously sad for Harriet, but I don't. It doesn't haunt me. It did initially. I do sometimes at night when I'm sad. I will wake up and have flashbacks and feel again. But it's happening less. But it's just always there in the background because it's changed all our lives. Really.
It will never go away. That'll never go away. I think I don't dwell on the night and that period too much, but there's a constant reminder every time we see Harriet. She's maimed.
So how have you ended up so positive after everything that's happened?
I think I said it. I was having this conversation with my mum the other day, and I said it's because my dad's worked really hard and just got through things. And my mum's just really positive, and I've learnt it. And she was like, no, but it is just part of you. This is who you are. I don't know. I saw the positive reinforcement people gave from me working hard, and kind of that I was like, well, I may as well do it. The only thing the only alternative is to just have sympathy and just feel awful all the time.
One of the biggest factors for Harriet throughout has been management of fatigue and sort of her physical endurance, and that is something that will continue to change and improve over quite a long period of time, and is obviously influenced by lots of different things as well. So I think from that perspective there's definite potential to continue to improve. The stronger she is, the better her ability will be with all of those things physically as well. However, also she has returned to essentially an independent life, doing whatever she wants to do. So her recovery has been sort of fantastic over the last 4 years as well, especially with various ups and downs that have sort of happened along the way as well. So in all of my areas of work throughout my career, there's been contact with patients who've been involved in sort of road traffic collisions with varying injuries, either neurological, physical, and for them every recovery is very different. And will be influenced by lots of different factors. So it's always really interesting from a physiotherapy point of view, and each patient will adapt to things in very different ways. And Harriet typically has been really engaged and really positive throughout, and is an example from that point of view, I suppose, in terms of how you approach your rehab and how you dedicate to sort of making that progress.
Harriet is a spoke volunteer, and she would be helping when people come to loan the wheelchair. She would be doing the demonstration, completing the paperwork, giving them information on other equipment, and also signposting to other places. Since we've opened Camp Hill Spoke last year, she was one of the first volunteers to start here. Since then, in fact, she's built up in confidence so well that she's even managed to recruit 2 new volunteers, and she's done absolutely amazing job since then.
It's been a hell of a few years, and it's been the hardest of my life, but I'm slowly getting through it, and it feels like I'm dealing with what I've got, and it feels good to be able to rather than just being give me sympathy, sympathy will never fix the pain that you're in. Just spend a lot of time trying to work on are you okay?
I don't actually worry about Harriet in terms of her future and that. She's very strong.